You know what surprised me was the joy I felt
Mm,
in being on the other side of that beautiful collaboration between an editor and an author, when it clicks. Um, and being the recipient of a wonderful editor's skill and insight, and just that delight in that.
yes.
It I trusted her, and I was quite looking forward to seeing what an editor would do with my manuscript.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Unfiltered Voices, the podcast that is all about busting the myth that self-published is second rate. I'm Kelly Nissen. I'm an author coach and a self-published author, and I'll be talking to authors, illustrators, and other self-published industry professionals about their choices, their journeys, and everything in between. I'm talking today to Desney King, a retired senior book editor whose novel, Transit of Angels, was published in 2020. She is currently working on a novella and a memoir. Desney King, welcome to Unfiltered Voices.
Thanks so much for having me, Kelly. It's lovely to be here.
It's an absolute pleasure. I was really pleased when you said you'd like to come on. Your novel, Transit of Angels, was published through a publishing collective, Pilyara Press. Now, a publishing collective is it's an interesting concept. I haven't come across this before. Can you tell us a little bit more about it? I'm intrigued, and also how Pilyara Press came into fruition, actually.
Absolutely. Look, it is groundbreaking, I think. And it came about in 2018, I think. A best-selling Australian novelist, Jennifer Schooler, was sitting around the kitchen table with two or three writer friends who were also commercially published, and they were talking about their gratitude that they were commercially published, but the limitations of that. So,
Mm,
they might not be able to have the title they wanted or the cover they wanted or whatever, and also the distribution. So
mm,
their contracts were pretty much for Australian, New Zealand distribution, so they weren't getting any global coverage.
mm,
And they had a whole range of publishing oriented skills between them, and they decided to just set up a collective. Jennifer lives on a property. She's a farmer as well. She's an extraordinary woman. Her property is called Pilyara, which means soaring eagle. So, Pilyara
mm,
Press publishes books that soar. Um,
mm,
and the concept of the collective is that everybody is a skilled writer,
mm,
and many already published authors or not want to be. And everybody has a skill or skill set that they can contribute to the other
mm,
members of the collective. No money changes hands. So there's a formal agreement. Jennifer's a retired lawyer,
mm,
as well. And everybody exchanges skills. So editing, proofreading, media, publicity, page layout, all those. The only thing the collective at this time doesn't have is a designer. We all organise that for ourselves, and so in that sense, we're indie.
mm,
We buy. Jennifer has bought a whole block of ISBNs, and we
mm,
buy our ISBN from her. We organise our own cover design and cover designer and so on. But other than that, members of the collective swap skills.
mm,
So the books are published to a really high standard.
yeah.
There's also a very strong environmental awareness. So for that reason, and financial reasons, I guess, we print on demand, which
Mm,
means we can provide books all around the world
Mm.
and also ebooks. For every book we produce, there's a paperback and an ebook.
It is absolutely groundbreaking. You've all got this common goal and you're just pooling your skills.
Yes, look at it.
So,
It is wonderful.
yeah.
It absolutely operates on goodwill, as you
Mm,
can imagine.
yeah.
But that it does. It's just a remarkable,
Yeah.
almost
It's
entirely women. There is one man in the team at the moment. There's just an enormous goodwill and high level of professionalism, which is
mm,
important to all of us, to everybody.
give what you would like to receive, basically, I think, isn't it?
A
You know,
beautiful way of putting it. And
yeah.
there's no balance sheet. So there's no, oh, I proofread your book, so I need you specifically to. It's circular,
It's that, what goes around comes around sort of
very much.
concept. I'm so fascinated. I could talk about this for ages, but we do need to move on. Desney, you've been involved in the book industry for many, many years. And similar to a number of authors that I know, you've made that break into writing from that long career as an editor. So what was it that inspired you to start writing and your involvement with Pilyara Press? What inspired you to go down that path with your writing?
So, um, wow, where did I start? I started almost 23 years ago
Mm,
writing morning pages. So Julia Cameron's The Artist's
yeah.
Way.
Yep.
Um, and writing morning pages is therapy and a foundation
Mm,
for me for, as I say, almost 23 years on New Year's
yep.
Day. Um, so that was where I started, and I think that's a that's a brilliant foundation for any writer or anybody
Mm,
who wants to be a writer. Eventually, when my life commitments, work, children, etc., allowed,
yep.
um, I signed up for a series of monthly writing workshops with a brilliant teacher, Joyce Cornblatt, who has
Mm,
sadly left us in recent years. But that was way back in about 2007, 2008.
mm,
And it was one Saturday a month for the year we signed up. Beautifully held writing workshops.
mhm,
Um, and I found by about August, we were writing about grief. And by the October Saturday, I realized that I was actually writing something that might be a
mm,
novel.
mm,
And it just went from there. Joyce was very supportive and encouraging, as was the group. I was still working at the time as an editor. I started getting up at 4:30 in the morning
mhm,
and just writing for an
mm,
hour. And I wrote the first draft of Transit of Angels in 2008 in about
mm.
12 months, just
Oh,
writing
wow.
every word.
It's
So,
that consistent practice, isn't it? That you've made that commitment
yeah,
for an hour, which is it's habit building.
habit
Yeah,
building and passion driven. I just couldn't not do it. And I
yeah,
am very disciplined, luckily. And I think that goes with having been an editor for 35
yes,
years.
yeah,
All of that. We have to be disciplined.
yeah, absolutely. So, um, Transit of Angels, I've already said came out in 2020. Really difficult time for any book that was published, I think, at that in those couple of years. Can you tell us more about the story?
Look, Kelly, at its heart, it's a love story. So
Mm,
it's a very unsexy love story in the sense that it's a novel about a young woman's grief.
mm,
Angelica loses her husband suddenly in a motorbike accident when Angelica is 34.
mm,
Um, and we meet her in the ICU as Bill is dying.
Mm.
Um, and we journey with her through the first couple of years of her grief.
Mm.
Through it all flows love, really. Her love for Bill, his love for her, um, the love of her twin sister, Essie. Um, we journey through that terrible period of grief in her life into a life that is filled with hope and possibility,
Mm.
um, which seems so unlikely at the beginning of the story and seems impossible to Angelica
Yeah,
herself. But that's where the story goes. And so,
yeah.
although it's a novel about grief, it's also filled with love and possibility and hope.
It's just that beginning that you described. I'm like, that's got all the feels
It
there as
has.
well.
It
It's like,
has. Most
and
people cry in the
so
first.
much, yeah, so much that there'd be something there that everybody could resonate with in that opening. And yeah, that's I know that sounds wonderful. Wonderful in a not in a happy, joyous way, but just, yeah, it's something that I certainly would like to read. Um, yeah, thank you for that. So self-publishing um, is still quite misunderstood, I think. Um, and there's a lot of aspiring authors and other industry professionals that don't really know what's involved, and authors don't actually know what they're in for when they decide to self-publish. Like, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yes.
So what would be one key piece of advice that you'd give to anybody who's thinking about entering into self-publishing, whether it's by yourself, hybrid, collective?
I guess I have to give two, if that's okay. And the first
Oh,
would
yeah,
be
absolutely. Yes.
rush. Just don't rush.
Yeah.
Um, and and most importantly, work with professionals.
Mm.
So if you think about it, you're going to spend months or probably years, more likely years,
Mm.
working on your precious manuscript, whatever it is, memoir, novel, fiction, whatever. Um, so don't stint on employing professionals, a
Mm.
professional editor or editors, mentor, if that's what you want, which is great that you're offering what you offer, for example, and a proofreader,
Mm.
and designer. Attend workshops, attend retreats, join a writers group if you can. Be
Mm.
a writer, step into the role.
Yes.
Don't
Yeah.
be afraid to say. So forget about that whole imposter syndrome thing. Just claim your space as a writer
Mm.
and step up as an author in the sense that you work with professionals. You have an
Mm.
editor or editors, you have a proofreader, you have a designer. Do
Yeah.
it properly.
Just immerse yourself and surround yourself by like-minded people. But I think when you said professionals, do your homework as well, because there are a lot of people out there who are offering these services, who perhaps shouldn't be. So
It
yeah.
perhaps be, and one of my pet peeves is I've heard this countless times that someone's writing a book and they say, "Oh, look, I don't need an editor. I've got a friend who's a high school English teacher. I've got a friend who's a librarian. I don't." That's wonderful. It's great that you have those friends. Let them be your beta readers. That's
Mm.
great. But they do not have professional editing and proofreading skills. They do not,
Mm.
no matter what they might say to you, and as lovely as they might be, they are not professional editors.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny that you say that, because I was literally talking to somebody about that exact thing yesterday, about somebody that we knew that had just asked their friend, who was an excellent English teacher, to proofread or do one of the edits, like a copy edit or something on their book. And when it came out, it was just start to finish full of mistakes, and that's devastating to see. I think when everything else was so beautifully done, and it was just, yeah, I think you lose that credibility, and yeah, it's not something that I would be happy to let go, I think. So Transit of Angels, you published at the age of 69. You're still writing now at 70, and this is despite surviving multiple strokes. So there's a lot at play there. How have your disabilities impacted your writing life, let
Oh,
alone the rest of your life?
enormously, Kelly. I had my first stroke in 2012, February
Mm,
2012. Uh,
wow.
I was editing at the time. It was a Thursday morning,
Mm,
10 o'clock in the morning. I was writing a report for an author. Um, and that was it. Um,
wow.
Luckily, Transit of Angels was in its 13th draft at that stage. So
Mm,
effectively, it was written. Um, I've had quite a number of strokes since and developed heart failure. And so my disabilities are visible and invisible.
mm,
Um, one of the invisible disabilities is a cognitive impairment, and I also have severe physical and cognitive fatigue.
mm,
So, this, how have they impacted me? How's all this impacted my writing? Enormously. I and I'm probably repeating myself now, and that's part of what's happened to my brain.
mm,
I can't write long form fiction anymore, and that's my love. I
mm,
just so I had in my computer at the time of that first stroke a couple of other embryonic um, novels.
mm,
Two. One had been started as part of a NaNoWriMo exercise that
oh
November.
yes.
Um, and I desperately, for years, I have wanted to write them and I have tried um,
Mm,
and just can't. My brain can no longer hold the complexity of
mm,
80,000 or plus
mm.
words. Which is ironic because my superpower when I was an editor was structural editing.
Oh yes.
I was known for anyway. Um, Not so long ago, a writer friend, Kim Kelly, I don't know whether you know her work, but I'd recommend it to everybody. Wonderful Australian author. Um, won a prize called the 2040 Finlay Lloyd 2040 prize, which is
Mm,
for novellas. I had to look it up. Novellas are 20,000 to 40,000 words.
mm.
And something just pinged in my poor little brain. And and I thought, you know what? I think I might be able to do that. At
Yeah.
least 20,000 words. Maybe I
Yep.
can do that. And so I pulled out one of those embryonic manuscripts.
Mm,
And in fact, it was weird because when Kim won that award, the character from that manuscript had been hassling me. He'd just come alive in my mind and been hassling
mm.
for several months. And I'd been saying to him, I'm really sorry, but I just can't do it. I just can't do it. Anyway, that's how the novella has come about. Work on it is very slow. Um, I, I'm lucky if I can write for an hour at a stretch,
Mhm.
um, once or twice, or in an amazing week, 3 times a week. So it's very slow going, but I'm doing it. I'm
You're
doing it.
doing it. And so many others would have just given up, right? And it's just, you've gone from 80,000 words to 40,000 to 20,000, but you can still tell a good story in 20,000 words, right? You've got the characters sitting at your shoulder hassling you as they do.
Yep.
Um, and you're like, right, well, I can't give up because I'm going to let these people down and, let yourself down ultimately as well. And I think too, like I've been reading and, hearing from people that across the board, readers' attention spans are shorter. Like people aren't picking up those 80,000 plus word novels anymore. They want the short linear storyline, just the A story, not necessarily the B story, and that sort of thing. So I think you're adapting for you, but you're also tapping into what is going to be a growing market, I think.
I hope so.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, just run with that.
yeah,
Run with
exactly.
that. But there's always been a place for short stories and novellas anyway.
Yes.
But maybe there's more of a place for them now as well.
Yes.
So,
And the other project is a memoir, which I never really wanted to write, but
mm,
from the time I had the first stroke, Joyce, for example, and writing group friends and all sorts of people have said, "Oh, you have to write a memoir about your post-stroke life,"
yeah.
um, and I've had made many attempts over
Mm,
the years. It's had about 5 different titles.
yeah.
And eventually I just, yeah, especially when the novella started to come really alive,
Mm,
I thought, well, I can't do the memoir. I can't do the memoir. I may as well admit I can't do the memoir, but
mm,
there is a lot of good material there, and
yeah.
maybe it's something. And a friend said to me, well, I'm happy to work on it. I'm happy to pull it together for you.
Mm,
So that was when I discovered that in those 5 or 6 folders or whatever, there are 51 files. That's how much I've
wow.
written over the years.
Wow.
Goodness knows how many thousands of words. I have no idea. So I worked out how to transfer 51 files to my friend. We've talked about structure, so we're collaborating. And
Mm,
I'm insisting that, if and when this does come about, her name will also be on the cover. And
mm,
it will be another collaboration, a different kind of collaboration.
yeah. And it goes back to what you were saying before about, surround yourself with other writers and with
Yep.
people in the industry as well, because the writing is so solitary a lot of the time, and when you do have that opportunity to collaborate, it can be wonderful if you've got the right person, which you obviously have.
And to open yourself up to possibilities, I think.
Mm,
So let go of let go of the initial plan
yeah,
if you need to. If you need to,
yeah.
written works take on a life of their own, don't they?
Oh yes, absolutely, they are a living beast.
Yes, they are. And so let them do that.
Yes.
And if they want to go off and work with someone else or distill down into a novella, let
Yes.
them do
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Let them run their course, I think.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
it is trust the process. So what is your process now, as you're writing? And is there any advice? I mean, everybody has to find their own process, right? But I think in what you say, there'll be nuggets of gold anyway. So what is your process?
I hope so, Kelly. I'll go back to when I was writing Transit of Angels
Mm,
because this is what I would like to do. I now do a very um, condensed version of
mm,
this, but I developed a ritual. So I was writing at my dining table at the time. I had a beautiful tablecloth. I would always have a vase with just at least one flower in it. Make a cup of tea, light a
mm,
candle to just go into the zone. So I've been a meditator and Reiki teacher and for
mm.
30, 40 years now. So that's part of me. Um, but to set up a little ritual, whatever it is that's meaningful to you, um, and always sit down and go into that zone when you're
Yeah.
writing. So now I live in a retirement village. We're not allowed to light candles. Okay?
No.
It makes sense to me because I've had random movement disorders and so on at various stages. I
Mm.
wouldn't want to knock a candle over onto my bed. I have an overbed table here, and I still have a little ritual where I just
Mm.
set everything up nicely, open the laptop, open the folders, plug in my backup disk. Did we talk about backing up your files?
Oh my
Crucial.
goodness. 100% you need to, yes.
4 different backup modalities, if possible.
Yes.
Um, so I set that up. I go into the zone. I open my style sheet. I open the dictionary, and then I'm ready.
Yeah.
And I say hello to my character. And I usually read, because my memory is terrible these days, I'll read the the last 3 or 4 paragraphs that I
Yeah.
was working on, and then I'm in the zone, and I let my fingers go.
Yeah, I love that. So you and just going back to what you said there about reading the previous 3 or 4 paragraphs, um, I have said to some of the people that I work with, and they're like, "Oh, I just read through what I'd already written, as in from the start. Oh, and then I didn't get any writing done because I was busy changing this and changing that." And I know I find as an editor, I've got to force myself not to reread because I'll go into editing mode. You've got to be in writing mode. But what you say about reading just the last 3 or 4 paragraphs, um,
Just slide back into the zone
yes, yeah, to pick up where
to
you left off.
reconnect
Yeah.
with your characters, reconnect with the story,
Mm.
ensure continuity as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Although you might not, I mean, I do write continuously. At the moment, I've I've hit a spot where I need to do some research, and I'm finding that difficult. And
Mm.
I'm considering workarounds again, either writing the story in a completely different way so
Mm-hmm.
that I don't need to do so much research, or jumping that bit, just putting
Yeah.
a little bit of a placeholder and jumping ahead and writing the final chunk of the book. I know more or less how that's going to go. I know it can flow. It doesn't need that level of research. So I'm
Yeah.
considering those things at the moment, the workarounds.
Yes. And again, this is what you decide to do ultimately as part of your process. So
Yes.
for some people, they won't be able to go past that point of needing research until they've done it, whereas others will be like, "You just leave it and move on." And you might end up discovering that the bit that you thought you needed to research doesn't actually serve the story anyway. So you haven't spent time, maybe not. I'm
Scary, scary but
guessing.
possible. Yes.
Yes, yeah. I suppose anything's possible. The look on your face said to me, "Yeah, no, you're wrong."
No, actually, the look on my face is, oh no, you're reading my mind
I
because that has occurred to me already.
was like, I'm not a huge fan of research. I tend to like I like it and I enjoy it, but I tend to go down rabbit holes. I've got no self-control when it comes to that. So I'm like, yeah, pure fiction, but even fiction, you have to research, right? There's got to be some credibility. Yeah.
Exactly, for credibility, authenticity, veracity,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah. So thinking about your editing career and mentioning like your superpower was structural editing, which is so important. There's so many people who think that they can skip that part, which I don't understand. Like they're just, oh, I just need to proofread. It's like, actually, no, it doesn't. But you've helped. I can't even imagine how many authors that you've helped over the years bringing their novel or their memoir or whatever to life, then to find yourself on the other side of the editor's desk. Did anything sort of surprise you about that switch?
What surprised me was the joy I felt
Mm.
in being on the other side of the collaboration, that beautiful collaboration between an editor and an author, when it clicks, um, and being the recipient of a wonderful editor's skill and insight, and just that delight in that.
Yes.
It I trusted her, and I was quite looking forward to seeing what an editor would do with my manuscript. But it was a delight. It really was a delight.
Yeah. Were you nervous about it at all, getting that initial feedback? Or
Strangely enough, I wasn't. Well, not really. I'd had a few people read the manuscript
mm,
and like it. I was a little bit nervous. I probably was. I've probably forgotten that. But I did trust Kath. She was a member of the collective at the time of Pilyara Press, and I
yes,
loved her novels. And so I respected her enormously already.
I think too, like your editing experience and probably your process as an editor too would have allowed you to trust the process being on the receiving end as well, knowing that you don't have to take everything on board, but having that second set of eyes where you're almost blind to your manuscript after a while, aren't you? You can't see something's missing, but you don't know what.
There were two things in particular. There was one scene somewhere in the middle of the novel, and
Mm.
I knew that as it stood, it was gratuitous, but I wouldn't let it go. And I thought, no one's going to notice. I'll just leave it there. And Kath, bless her, said, "This is a great scene, but what's it adding to the novel?" Oh no!
Have
She's
you?
but that was such a gift, and I'm so grateful
Mm,
because just by virtue of her spotting it and by virtue of the way she asked the question,
yeah,
she pinpointed what was wrong. Suddenly, I saw I saw a focal point for that scene and
yeah,
a reason for it to contribute to the story. And I
mm,
was able to just write that an extra couple of sentences, really not much.
yeah,
But without that brilliant editorial input, it either would have sat there and been embarrassing or it would have disappeared. So,
yes.
her and the other thing is Angelica has a little dog, Tashi. I don't think it's giving too much away to tell people that. And Kath is a dog lover.
Uh-huh.
So every so often there'd be a comment on the side of the manuscript. Where's Tashi?
Uh-huh.
What's happening with Tashi? Oh, okay. Yep. Okay. I better find Tashi.
Yes.
Angelica had better find Tashi.
It is those little things, isn't it? The big structural stuff aside, it's those little fine-tuned things that as the author, that information is in your head, but you can't necessarily see that it's missing on the page. And
Exactly.
you do need that second set of eyes to ask the questions. Well, and just, having that experience, like I said, from the other side, I think you've just got that really well-rounded approach, and it must be just really satisfying, both as an editor and as an author, to be able to see both sides of the story. So I'll just move on to your catchphrase. So I one of the questions on the form that I send out is what's your catchphrase or your catchy slogan? And yours, and knowing you now, I'm not surprised, but yours is never give up. Um, and after everything you've been through, that your body's been through, and your experiences in your life, having that phrase in the back of your mind, what does that mean for you on the hard days?
Look, when you asked me for a catchphrase, I had so many possibilities, but it kept
Mm,
coming back to that because I guess I have two options really.
Mm.
Um, I'm an aging, disabled woman who lives on her bed most of the
Mm.
time. So my options are to just to say, woe is me, and everything's hard, and some days especially living with severe fatigue as I do,
Mm.
and all sorts of other limitations like not being able to sit up in a chair or stand up uh,
Yeah.
or leave the building unless somebody pushes me in a wheelchair. Um, so, of course, there are days that could be hard, but I choose I choose to smile. I
Mm.
choose to look for the light. I suppose, actually, one of the things that happened after the first stroke was everything was stripped away, really. You know,
Mm.
I couldn't apply makeup anymore. My work was gone.
Mm.
Even my role as a mother was starting to reverse with my young adult children. There was they were starting to look after me rather than the way it had always been. Um, and I asked myself, what is my purpose? Why am I here? What is
Mm.
my purpose? And it might sound corny, and I can't think of a way of putting it without sounding corny, but what it distilled down to was that, and I think this is true for all of us really, that we are here to radiate light,
Mm.
to be to be a beacon of light in the world in
Mm.
whatever tiny way that might be. So my choice every day, no matter how hard it is to follow the advice of Thich Nhat Hanh, who was a wonderful Buddhist teacher I've followed
Mm.
decades, and to smile. And even just in smiling, it changes your brain chemistry,
Mm.
or it lifts the muscles in your face, and that changes your brain chemistry. Um, to be grateful for every little thing. So I look out my bedroom window here.
Mm.
There's a beautiful tree. She's my friend. She's my
Yeah.
constant companion. All the little things.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to
Yeah.
choose that. I'm deliberately not saying positivity because I think toxic positivity is
Yes.
detrimental.
Yeah.
Um, but to choose to radiate light and to,
Mm.
to be grateful for whatever it might be. Grateful that you've invited me to be here now. This is such a bright spot in my day. It's wonderful.
I know you don't, you're not who you are, and you don't do what you do and say what you say for, for the accolades and that sort of thing. But honestly, just sitting here now listening to you, you're so inspirational. You just, I think it's just beautiful, and so much to, little things to just take away from what you've been saying, and your approach to everything. It's made those three words, never give up. That's just more than those three words. There's so much there to that. So thank you so much. Um, we know what's next for you. You're going to get this novella finished, and you're going to have a memoir. Um, and one of the other questions that I had that I jumped past was, milestones as an author. I think you've got those there. Is there anything else that you want to, that is a bit of a milestone, no matter how small, for you, apart from finishing your novella?
Oh, look. Um, I should say I'm very, very lucky that Jennifer at Pilyara Press has told me that anything I write, she will publish.
Oh, beautiful.
So um, even though I'm recently retired from my active role within Pilyara Press,
Mm.
the collective is still there for me. So that's wonderful. Um, I have applied for a residency. It would be lovely to be awarded that. It's a very long shot and logistically even quite difficult, but
Mm.
you know, never give up, never say no, never say
Exactly.
it's impossible.
Jump
Uh,
in because you're not going to get it otherwise, are you?
that's it. So that would be a milestone. But
Yeah.
honestly, having the novella particularly having the novella published would be a
Yes.
wonderful milestone. Will be a wonderful
It
milestone.
will be. Yes. Yeah. It's that positive forward thinking, I think, isn't it?
Exactly. And
So
look,
yeah.
the memoir, if we can achieve that, my friend and I, fantastic.
Yeah.
But fiction is my true love.
So, Desney, this has just been, a, yeah, a beautiful, beautiful chat with you. Thank you so much. Just before we sign off, where can where can listeners find you, find your books? And it will be, I'm saying that in the plural deliberately.
Thanks, Kelly. Look, I'm very active on Facebook and Instagram. I have a website, desneyking.com.au.
Mhm.
Book is available online worldwide at all good online bookstores,
Yes.
whether you think they're good or not, as an ebook and a paperback. And if you go to my website, there's actually a Buy My Book tab, which gives you useful links to go and shop online if you want to do it
Brilliant.
that way.
So
So
easy to find
easy.
and
Yeah.
connect with Desney on social media as well. Desney, thank you so much. It's been wonderful, and yeah, I can't wait to see, to hear from you that your novella's out.
Thanks so much, Kelly. It's been a real delight to spend this time with you.